Hello everyone, welcome to Sunrise India Television News. News read by Fatima Renit Nuruddin and edited by senior journalist and analyst Nilamdeen. India reinforces nuclear second strike capability as INS Arihant successfully test fires K4 SLBM. Successful submarine-launched ballistic missile test underscores India's transition from declaratory nuclear posture to operationally credible sea-based second strike deterrence. India has crossed another decisive threshold in its pursuit of a survivable and credible nuclear deterrent with the successful test of the K4 submarine-launched ballistic missile from the nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine INS Arihant in the Bay of Bengal on 23rd of December 2025, a development that fundamentally strengthens New Delhi's second strike capability while reshaping the strategic calculus across South Asia and the wider Indo-Pacific maritime domain. The launch, executed from a concealed underwater platform operating within India's eastern seaboard bastion, reflects a deliberate maturation of the sea-based leg of India's nuclear triad and signals the transition from experimental deterrence to routine, operationally credible undersea nuclear patrols capable of surviving a first strike and delivering assured retaliation. Aridaman, the Navy's third indigenous nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine, is poised to bolster the credibility, responsiveness, and survivability of India's nuclear triad. The imminent commissioning of INS Aridaman, the Indian Navy's third of four indigenously designed and built nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines, will reinforce India's sea-based second strike strategic posture by ensuring a survivable underwater nuclear retaliatory capability. Announced by Iron Chief Admiral D.K. Tripathi at his annual press conference in New Delhi on Tuesday, ahead of Navy Day on Thursday, this SSBN milestone, analysts said it was poised to significantly bolster the credibility, responsiveness, and survivability of India's nuclear triad configured on land, air, and sea-based platforms. However, the Iron Chief declined to provide details of a firm commissioning date as the platform is undergoing sea trials. He also revealed that INS Arigat, the second vessel of the Arihant-class SSBNs, had quietly entered service in August 2024, following the commissioning of the project's lead boat 8 years earlier in 2016 at the Secretive Shipbuilding Center in Visakhapatnam. The IN aims to field at least 4 such SSBNs, the next one in the present series being classified merely as S4 for now, with the option of building 2 more. These have been developed in tandem by the Defense Research and Development Organization, the Department of Atomic Energy, select IN personnel and Russian specialists whose role, particularly in miniaturizing their SSBN reactors, has long been an open but downplayed secret. However, Arihant's launch at SCB in July 2009 marked the first public acknowledgement of this hushed collaboration with the Russian naval design team, and the country's then ambassador V.I. Tribnikov presented the formal ceremony. Such sensitive collaboration, impossible for India to forge with other nuclear powers like France, the UK, or even the US, remains a palpable cornerstone of the long-standing strategic and military partnership between Moscow and New Delhi, which began in the 1960s and endures. Meanwhile, according to open source information, the 7,000-ton INS Aridaman, earlier categorized as just S4, was slightly heavier than the 6,000-ton Arihant and Arigat, and with the load waterline measurement of 125.4 meter compared with 11 meter for the 2 earlier boats. This length increase, earning it the nickname Arihant Stretch in overseas naval circles, was to accommodate an expanded vertical missile launch system, now doubled to 8 tubes, enabling the SSBN to carry either 8K4 submarine-launched ballistic missiles with a range of 3,500 km or 24K15 SLBM striking 750 km away. The first two SSBNs are believed to carry 12 K-15OB5 SLBMs in 4 vertical tubes, each missile delivering a 5-ton nuclear payload to a distance of 750 km, with possible later adaptation of both these platforms to additionally fill the K-4 system. This highly classified K-4 missile was successfully test-fired from Arigat late last year in the Bay of Bengal, following pontoon-based trials to reconfirm a major landmark in operationalizing India's sea-based nuclear deterrent. And though deemed operationally qualified, its series production and deployment status remained confidential. Built with Russian steel broadly equivalent to the US HY-80 grade, a high-yield, high-strength submarine steel known for its toughness and ability to withstand deep ocean pressure, each Indian SSBN is reportedly divided into 7 compartments. The platform's propulsion systems are housed inside a specially quietened titanium shell weighing about 600 tons and measuring roughly 10 meters in diameter, alongside sections for the combat management systems, platform management center, and torpedo room. The SSBN also have a double hull with ballast tanks in between, while 2 standby auxiliary engines and a retractable thruster provide emergency power and maneuverability. Online sources also indicated that much of this layout and architecture had been carried forward from Arihant, with minor refinements into the 2 follow-on SSBNs Arigat and Aridaman, easing serviceability and future upgrades. But all 3 SSBNs were powered by an 82.5 MW pressurized light water reactor built with Russian assistance that operated a single 7-bladed screw to achieve speeds of 24 knots whilst submerged and around 10 knots when surfaced. Key industrial contributions to the SSBN program were provided by Larsen and Turbo, which constructed the hulls at its Hazira facility in Gujarat, built the vertical launchers for K-15 SLBM tests, and installed the 3 533mm torpedo tubes believed to fire Russian test 71ME NK variants. Subsystems came from private partners Walchandnagar Industries that supplied gearbox and shafting, and the Tata Power SED UK BAE systems combined, which provided platform management and electronic warfare consoles to detect, monitor and counter electronic threats. State-owned Bharat Electronics Limited supplied the DRDO-designed USH-US and Panjantria sonosuites, the latter combining surveillance, passive, intercept and active modes. BEL also contributed to developing the SSBN CMS, while several Israeli and French companies made available assorted radars, sensors, communication suites, and anti-torpedo countermeasures, along with other specialized systems and sub-assemblies. The ATV project evolved out of Project 932, a small unit launched in the late 1970s by the Navy's Directorate of Marine Engineering and headed by a commander rank officer under the aegis of the DAE. The impetus for Project 932, however, had its genesis in India's 1971 war with Pakistan, when the US, a close ally of Islamabad at the time, sent an aircraft carrier-led task force into the Bay of Bengal to exert pressure on New Delhi to back down. Thereafter, Project 932 progressed incrementally, almost grinding to a halt around 1980 as the DAE's plan for the reactor-proof float, but it was reinvigorated under the DRDO as the ATV program. The ATV project in return received a boost in January 1988 after the IN-leased INS Chakra, a 5,000-ton Charlie 1 class SSN from Moscow for 3 years, making India the world's 6th country to operate such a platform after China, France, Russia, the UK, and the US. Although international treaties forbid the sale of nuclear submarines, leases are permitted provided the boats are not armed with missiles with ranges of over 300 kilometers. In 2012, the IN leased a second SSN, an Akula-class boat, also christened Chakra, from Russia for around $1.5 billion to further develop its nuclear submarine operating skills. This served as a learning platform for IN personnel, but Chakra's worsening power plant and maintenance problems forced India to return the SSN to Russia in June 2021, some 10 months before the lease was due to expire. And thereafter, in March 2019, India signed a $3 billion agreement with Moscow to lease yet another SSN for a decade from 2025 onwards, but its delivery has slipped to around 2027 to 28 amid Russian supply chain disruptions and sanctions stemming from the Ukraine war. In the meantime, India's SSBN program will eventually be complemented by the indigenous constructions also at the SCB of 4 to 6 SSNs approved by the government in early 2015, with the first 6,000-ton boat expected to be ready by 2032 to 33. The resulting capability gap prompted a strategic rethink, leading to an inclusion of 6 SSNs within the 24 submarine force to provide greater reach and flexibility in an increasingly hostile environment in the Indian Ocean region. Thank you and see you again in another video.